Good morning, everyone. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday, October 17th. The year is flying away. And if you have not joined us before, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. I also work with accidental or non-traditional salespeople, people who don't want to sell, don't think selling is good, people who avoid it like the plague. They hate asking for money. I help them get the mindset and the skill set to effectively enroll new clients. And if you have joined us before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m., I either do a live training or a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. I have someone lined up, but so far he's not here. So I'm going to tap dance for about 60 seconds. And if he doesn't show up, we'll end this and I'll see you next week. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The year is quickly flying away. We're halfway through October. That means there's 2.5 months left to the year. Here comes our guest. That's great. I'll bring him on in just a second. We're getting at the end of the year, and that means you're going to start getting excuses. You're going to start getting people very soon who are going to say, call me after the holidays. Don't listen to any of that stuff. There's still plenty of people out there who need what you've got, who need whatever you have to offer. So now is still the time to reach out to people, be prospecting, call everybody who told you they want to think it over during the year. Those people, there's probably gold in your database with people who are ready to do business and just haven't taken the time to call you. And with that, I'm glad our guest did show up, and I'm going to introduce you to him. He's an AI automation lead gen expert, and he's the managing partner at MS3IT Business Solutions. Please welcome Andre Lassiter. Good morning, Andre.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to see you. I was a little nervous that you weren't going to show up, but I'm glad that you're here. Hey, before I get started with all the questions I have about AI and lead gen, could you maybe give us the 2 to 3 minute version of your background? What brought you up to this point?
Yeah, sure thing. So with me, AI automation, obviously I'm here for. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am an entrepreneur at heart, started out in IT, went all the way from, the baby steps of help desk, desktop support and all of that to systems administration, then got into cybersecurity. From there, started running the program for cybersecurity, for PCI for Comcast. And then after that, had a journey into entrepreneurship. My wife and I owned a U-Break iFix, where that's where the floodgates happened, right? So we got into that franchise and noticed the need for AI, for automation, because this was 2016. So generative AI wasn't what it is today, right? So just building from there, right? And building it into our franchise systems, other franchisees as well, and then recognizing the need for other industries to have the same thing. So I know it's probably sorted in 2 to 3 minutes, but that's my story in a nutshell.
Awesome. And when you say, AI wasn't what it is back then, I don't think AI is today what it'll be tomorrow. It seems like it's changing like at light speed. There's, 80,000 new apps a day and new, things like ChatGPT that it's confusing and overwhelming at times. But when did you first realize that AI was going to change the way that salespeople find and engage with leads?
Yeah, I think for me, it kind of clicked when I saw AI responding to leads faster than any sales team could, right? So we're obviously in a phase that's interesting right now, where people are scared that AI is going to take their jobs, and people are fearing that AI is this monster, right? So at least for the time being,
it's like the Terminator movies,
right?
When AI really came to the forefront, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years ago, that was certainly one of my thoughts. I'm like, I've seen the movies. It starts out this way and then it takes over, and it is scary. And it's changing and it's learning, by the minute. But I did embrace it, and I have found that it can make you more efficient, more effective. And I'm even though I'm an older guy, I love technology, and I find that anything that makes me more effective or more efficient saves me time, saves me money, makes me more profitable, and I'm in favor of that, as long as it doesn't end up taking over.
That's it. That's the key piece, right?
Exactly right. I don't need a robot coming back from the future to kill somebody so that AI never gets invented. Now I think I have to watch that movie again. So how is AI changing the way that we develop leads? Because the The number one challenge I see in every organization I walk into, I'll back up. It used to be that the number one problem that salespeople had was they just weren't asking for the order. They never actually asked for the business, because if you don't ask, you don't get rejected. But that's
Mhm.
taken the second place. Today, it's salespeople simply are not seeing enough prospects. Every
Yeah.
coaching client that comes to me, every organization I walk into, a professional salesperson or a non-professional, they're just not speaking to enough prospects. And even though I'm an expert at selling, I've been selling for 50 years and I'm so good at selling, people pay me to teach them how to sell. I can't close enough business unless I'm seeing enough prospects. So how is AI changing the way that we develop leads?
Oh boy. So this is very interesting, right? So we can process data faster. We can find and pinpoint your prospects a lot faster. So we've got, technology that grabs any and everything about you, your buying habits, who you are, your persona, all that good stuff. And it's powered by AI, right? So you're able to give the marketing teams better, more targeted approaches. You're able to prep the sales team because, I've got AI that can go out and research and find out everything about the prospect, their company, their pain points, what hits them, the hardest. And you're very well prepared when you step into that interview, right? So it's changing, how efficiently, effectively, how fast we can get leads. You can get more qualified leads for less cost. It's also changing the fact, well, the way that you approach leads, right? So let's say you've been doing it one way forever and your results are good, but now you have more insight, so they can be great, right? So you can hit them exactly where they need to be, or speak your client's language, whatever that case may be. And we have AI sales trainers too, right? So not to take what you do at all, because your genius is your genius, but you're talking a lower level salesperson, they need repetition over and over again. So, Jeff, maybe we can talk and develop an agent that has you in it.
AI Jeff?
Yes, yes.
Hey, well, look,
Duplicate your efforts.
I am not an AI genius, although I have embraced it. And the thing that really stands out for me is the most important thing is you have to know how to write good prompts, because AI is only going to do what you tell it to do. And again, I'm not an expert at this, but just the other day, I'm like, if I'm going on a sales call and I'm going to do some research, which of course I am,
Yeah.
I don't do a ton of research before I reach out to somebody. But before I go on an actual sales call, when somebody agrees to an appointment, I want to know as much as I possibly can about them, their company, everything. And I wrote a fairly simple prompt, what I consider to be a fairly simple prompt that produces a great result and way quicker. I mean, it's almost instantaneous, where it would take me 20, 30 minutes to do all that research. And it's just astounding. You get back 20 or 30 minutes of your day. And I think that most people don't really look at it carefully enough. The way I look at it, Andre, and I'd love to hear what you think, but
Yeah.
I take everything as, how much do I charge per hour? And I know what that amount is, and it's not inconsequential. And every minute that I spend doing something else, I'm thinking I could be making X amount of dollars per hour. So if AI can do something in 60 seconds, it takes me half an hour. I just made $250.
Yep.
To me, that's a score. So it's a tool that I don't really have too much of a fear that it's going to take over, although there are concerns. I know that a lot of people are concerned about losing their jobs, and we can talk later on about whether salespeople will. But it's anything that makes me faster, allows me to do more outreach, do more delivery. Because I don't make any money unless I'm serving people. So it really gives me the ability to do what I want to do. I don't want to do research. I don't want to do prospecting. I don't want to do anything except hear the words, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Jeff Goldberg." Then I walk out into a stage and I train a bunch of salespeople. So
Yes.
AI is really helping me do that. One of the things that I find is, like if I use AI to write a post, which I do, when AI spits something out, I never, ever automatically just post it without reading it carefully and changing it, because while AI is doing a great job, and I use ChatGPT a lot, it's done an amazing job of learning who I am. I mean, each one gets better and better. It's amazing when it asks me questions and said, "Hey, Jeff, do you want this for this audience?" It's just astounding. But there is a concern that if people are using AI without doing that editing, without actually looking at it, we're losing the humanity, and people buy from people. People don't buy from robots. They buy from people. So can AI truly replace the human touch in identifying qualified leads, or is that just marketing hype?
So I'll say no. No, AI cannot replace the human touch, right? You need the human in the loop. It is not there yet. There are, you know, RAG systems, agentic systems that, we can get pretty doggone close. Just using OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever the case may be, not at all. But yeah, you definitely need the human in the loop, because I'll say there was a company, I believe the Australian government, there's a large consulting firm this week or last week, it made the news. They sold a document for $400,000 to the government. It was riddled with errors, right? One of the big four. And they have been reamed about it, right? Because they didn't have the human in the loop. Someone didn't check it. Someone just passed it off and said, oh yeah, AI is great. Here it is. It's done. It's not always great. You have to check those things, because it's just predicting the next token.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just super obvious stuff that if you just took a moment to read what it spat out, you go, oh, wait a minute, I got to change that. Like, one of the things I use AI for is when I'm helping clients develop email cadences. I'm assuming that everybody knows what that is. A cadence is a series of emails that are going to go out at predetermined times with messaging to your prospects or clients, whatever you're trying to do. And what the first thing I found out is that, if I'll say, please develop a 7 email sequence that'll go out every 3 days to reach this audience, blah, 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 blah. Every email started out with the same, I hope you're doing great today. Well, I can't send 7 emails that all start out with that same line. So you got to take a look at it. But again, 7 emails would take me a long time to think about and actually put into proper form. That AI framework, that it just makes me much faster. I'm with you. At least today, it can't replace the human touch. Maybe I almost said tomorrow. I don't think it's tomorrow, but I also don't think it's 10 years from now, but somewhere in the near future it might. But for now, we really need to, we have to work hand in hand with AI. How can a small business, or maybe a solopreneur, or even an individual salesperson, how can they start using AI without breaking the bank?
Yeah, for sure. Breaking the bank is relative, right? So, for someone it might be $50, so it might be $1,000, right? But with that being said, anyone can utilize AI. You've got the free tiers of ChatGPT and OpenAI, just like you discussed, right? Claude and Gemini, whatever you choose, whatever flavor.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But just going to YouTube University sometimes and just learning how to prompt. There are free courses out there. You've got your Coursera's and those sorts of things. They can give you great information. Heck, Jeff, I don't know. Maybe you have a course coming out.
I don't. Well, I have courses, but not on AI, because I'm not an expert at that. I don't know if you know this guy. I follow a guy named Jonathan Mast, M-A-S-T.
Yes.
The guy is brilliant. I mean, he's self-admitted he's got ADHD, and his mind is amazing. I've taken probably 6 of his courses already. They're all fairly inexpensive. He usually, when he announced them, it's $147, but if you sign up now, it's $97. So for $100, he's so good at explaining things amazingly clearly. Every one of his courses includes a lot of Q&A, because he always has a lot of live people. The guy's got 450,000 followers. It's astounding, because he's so good. And it's like when I'm teaching sales, I'm constantly stunned at, I'll say something to an audience, or I'll be working with an individual salesperson. I'll say something and they'll go, oh my God, that's incredible. And in my head, I'm going, how do you not know that? That's the most obvious thing that I learned 50 years ago when I first started out in sales. But it's the same thing, he's got this knowledge, and I assume you do too, that, it's like, stuff that I just don't. And to me, it's like, oh, Jesus, I didn't realize that. It truly is amazing. It's very exciting.
Yes.
If someone is starting from scratch, they don't know anything about AI, what's the first step to building an AI-powered lead generation system?
I would say start with clean data, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So data quality is a huge thing. Make sure that, you have conversations with the AI so it knows your tone of voice, right? It knows information about you, knows your background, because without that, it is going to, frankly, spit out generic BS, right? Those are things that you don't want. plug the AI in to give it examples, right? Give it examples of what something good looks like, what a good output looks like. Because if you don't, again, it's going to assume that the data that it's trained on from the masses is correct, and it's going to spit out generic content, generic copy, generic wording. But you want to, have your brand defined, have it speak the way you speak. So that was what I'd say is the first step. Yeah, just giving it good content. I'm gonna say you don't want garbage out, so don't put garbage in.
Yeah, and I do have the paid version of ChatGPT. I mean, it's $20 a month. I can pretty much afford that. As we say in my religion, I do okay. But it's interesting that in the beginning I had to say I want it in this tone or that tone. Now it actually asks me, do you want this in a serious business-like tone? Do you want to use your sense of humor? I'm a stand-up comedian on the side, so I use a lot of humor in everything I do. And AI, ChatGPT has learned to ask me those questions, but my experience is the more clear you are in your prompt and your instructions, it'll give you just about anything you're asking for. The other thing that, and I learned this from Jonathan, at the end of every prompt, it's like I add in, ask me any questions you might have.
Yes.
I also thank, and I always say please, because if the robots do take over, I want to go, oh, that guy was polite. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people are making when they try to use AI for lead generation or anything else?
It's messy data, right? Over automating, over prompting sometimes. I will tend to teach our larger clients, right? Like you said, exactly what to do, right? Hey, we can make some done for you things as well, but when you want to brainstorm, let me teach you about prompting. Let me teach you a little bit about how things go to get the best output. So, yeah, just over automating, they'll get excited and say, give me a perfect prompt for this, that, and the third. No, have conversation. You don't want to necessarily over prompt because you're not making agents, right? So, and then as well, like you said, no feedback loop, right? So you need that feedback loop. Ask for, hey, was this clear? Do you understand? If you understand what I said, reply with yes, right? And then once you understand, ask me any questions, any clarifying questions that can make this better, right? What can make this engage with my audience better? What can make this more clear? All those sorts of things. People don't ask, they don't talk to the AI. You literally are training your team member, right? So think about, you didn't just on your first day of sales or your first day at a job, you weren't expected to know everything. That's essentially how a lot of people treat ChatGPT because it can spit out an answer, but you have to train it. It's an employee. So you give it the handbook, you give it, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it gets better over time.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where, I use AI to write my posts. I post every day on LinkedIn, and I use that as the basis for my posts. And it's now at the point where it says, are you looking to create a viral post or something to speak directly to your target audience that will, with a call to action? I'm like, yeah, I of course I want everything to go viral, but it's more important that I speak direct. It's just brilliant. You used a term that I've never heard before. What is over prompting, and what's the danger of that?
For sure. Over prompting, and that's probably, for the nerds, right? But over prompting is coming up with this long, super complex prompt that, has, it's 5, 10 pages of prompting. It's going to get lost in that. I used to do it initially, and that's when I learned, hey, you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to break it up into chunks. And once you understand the data science behind how AI really works, it's better if you feed it bite-sized information, and not everything all at once. Because yeah, some people, you'll throw a PDF, half of a book in, right, and say, give me everything about this book. It's not going to work too well in your favor. So smaller chunks of data, digestible, like I said, just as you would talk to a human and train a human. That's how you're going to want to train your AI. Of course, it learns a lot faster, right? And it puts the output out a lot faster, but just think in those terms and you'll be fine.
I love that it keeps learning, because I'm at the, I don't know if this is me or just ChatGPT, but it's, I'll put in a prompt and it'll write something, and then it'll ask me a question. Do you want something more like this? Or do you want that? Or what about if I do this? And I'm like, five generations down, I've got something like that's beautiful.
Yes.
It's really amazing. What is Call AI? I think that's a product that your company offers. How does that work, and who needs Call AI? What is that?
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So Call AI is essentially, well, two to three things, right? So with Call AI, we have an AI receptionist. So inbound, it can take all of your internal calls, inbound calls for businesses, small, medium, large, you name it. We typically have a human in the loop. So let's say, I'll use for an example, an HVAC company, right? Uh, it rings three times and no one picks up from the actual business. So you don't have a physical person picking up. Now you've got an AI receptionist that picks up, has the same phone call, qualifies the prospect, schedules them for an appointment. It can live transfer if it's an emergency to your on-call technician or to the team. Whatever the case may be, it can do it. It can take messages. So voicemail's dead, right? You'll never receive a voicemail again because the AI is going to handle it, route the call accordingly, and take action. Typically with us, we'll build it out in the CRM so it can perform tasks. Outbound, it can call your leads, right? So you've got a lead list. It can call them all, schedule, appointments on your calendar as long as they're opted in. Follow those TCPA guidelines for all you marketers out there that don't. That's a red flag if they're not mentioning that. So, but with that being said, yeah, it can do outbound calls as well in many scenarios, right? So warming people up, it can confirm your appointment. So, just give a quick call and say, hey, we've got an appointment in 15 minutes. Just wanted to see if that's still a good time for you. If not, it can reschedule. Done. And that's extremely helpful because how much time back in your day does that take, right? You've got, your appointment set. Are you an appointment setter? If you're a solopreneur, you're an appointment setter and a salesperson. So take that time back. It's going to be tremendous ROI for you.
So I'm hoping yours is better than most of the outbound call or the inbound calls I get that are clearly automated. First of all,
Yes.
I despise predictive dialers. For those who don't know, predictive dialer is when you answer the phone and you go, hi, or the way I always end, hi, this is Jeff. I always have a good tone of voice and I sound upbeat. And then there's that like 3 seconds where there's dead air and then somebody comes on. So I automatically know that you're dialing 8,000 numbers and waiting for somebody like me to pick up. But then you get somebody who comes on that sounds like they're a human. Hi, Jeff. I'm calling about blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that? And I go, are you human or are you a robot? And then they just keep talking. Well, now I'm pissed off. Yeah. I'm truly, it's like, are you effing kidding me? You want to try to sell me something and you don't even have the courtesy to put a live human on? I've got to deal with this robot. So I'm hoping yours is better than that. But I'm assuming either yours already is or that the technology is going to get better and better because that actually turns me off. I love a good sales pitch. I'll listen to anybody if they call me. I know most people won't, but because I'm a sales coach, I'll listen to anybody's pitch because I'll give you a little trick, Andre. After somebody does pitch me, I'll say, wow, that was terrific. Who's your give me your manager's contact information. I want to call up and tell them what a great job you did. And then 5 seconds later, after I get off the phone, I call and I'll say, hey, Andre, I just spoke to your sales rep, Bruce. I'm a sales coach and trainer. Can I give you a little feedback? And I've actually turned that into business. Yeah, you like that one?
That's awesome.
I've actually gotten business that way. But
I love it.
But yeah, it's I can't know that it's AI. If I know that if it's obvious that it's not listening to me, it doesn't work. So does you go ahead, please?
Oh yeah. I was going to say I can speak to that. So typically those are either V1 widespread AI agents, or they're just railroading through the call, right? So they're not actually AI. They're just built to railroad through, play a message and be done because they're doing mass outreach. So our agents are a little bit different. So it was start out with something like, hey, is this Jeff? And then if you replied and say, yeah, this is Jeff,
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to get ahead of this and let you know that I am an AI assistant. I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so because, we're reaching out about blah, blah, blah. Is now a good time to chat? And if you say yes, it has a conversation with you, right? It's actually conversational. If you say no, bug off, get off my line and say, I'm sorry about that, and then go into objection handling and then proceed into whatever the case may be. Or it could let you off the hook, right? Depending upon how we prompt it, how aggressive you want to be. We've got some for bill collections that get really aggressive and then some that are lighter and, like survey question and answer type bots and, but yeah, we can prompt it in various different ways. We use some human psychology, some sales trainings, and I'd love to get with you more as well to tighten up some of those, particularly probably for insurance. But yeah. No, we can adjust it, right, so that it does sound human like. It's not this robotic plowing through. It has personality. It can laugh. It can, understand what you're saying. It can feed back to you. We build ours so that they have background information typically, depending upon the client's budget and what they're looking to do. So it's yeah, we get to it.
So if the message was, "Hi, I'm Jeff's AI assistant. I've got a couple of questions," that I would listen to. But
For
when
sure.
you're pretending to be a human and I
Yeah.
know it, I'm done. Don't
Yeah.
don't fool me. Don't mess with me. But that I could listen to. Is an AI agent and an AI assistant, are those the same thing or are those two different things?
Two different things. So AI, well, it depends on what you're talking about. Typically, AI
Well,
agents are, the OpenAI just came out with their agentic building system, and you've got the N8Ns of the world, and a few more platforms as well that you can make agents that do. You know, one agent has one task. So we build agents. Think of it this way: you've got your supervisor and you've got your team, right? The agents are all of that combined. So your supervisor can take the main task and then it can delegate to the team, which has their own specialties because you don't want to overprompt. And we follow that as well with voice AI, right? So you may have an intake agent and then it may pass it off to an agent that's more specialized in a subject, right? So let me transfer you to the whatever team, right? And then we also prompt in our agents, if there's if you sense frustration, right? If you can't answer the question or if they're frustrated and you can tell, that the conversation is not going too well, offer to transfer to a live human and it can live transfer, right? Get it out of there. Kick
You mean
rocks
like the
for
frustration that I have when I'm screaming, going, "Representative, representative." Oh, shoot me.
there's no more press one. There's no more representative. That's all done. You'll start to see it come up a lot more.
So that
And
should be
it's
great
going to
for
get a lot
customer
better.
service. So those are agents. So tell me about AI assistants and how do they help with follow up? Because most salespeople, in my experience, suck at follow up, and if they do it at all, they're doing it too slow. So how can an AI assistant help with slow follow up?
For sure. So we automate that process typically, right? So if let's say you had a sales call with me, right? And then tomorrow, uh, you wanted to check in. We're going to check in via probably text message and email first. All right. So we've got a few formulas that we use. Hey, it's Jeff. Just wanted to, you know, check in, whatever the case may be, whatever verbiage you use, right? Then
It
send an
definitely would
email
not
as
be.
well.
I just wanted to check in.
Right,
Everybody who's
right.
listening, please do not follow up saying, "Hey, I'm just checking in," or "I'm just following up," because that's what salespeople do, Andre. They meet with somebody and then they don't set a next meeting, so they're constantly trying to follow up and they're leaving messages that sound like this: "Hey, it's Jeff. I'm just following up. Hey, it's Jeff. What about that proposal? Hey, it's Jeff. Just checking in." And what those messages really mean is, "Hey, did you decide to do business with me but forget to let me know?" They don't forget to let you know. So yeah, you better have something better to say than just checking in.
Indeed. No, I love it. Look, the meeting wasn't successful unless you had the follow-up meeting scheduled during that meeting, right? So
As
it's
far as I'm concerned, yes, that's the number one. I consider that the most important thing I teach salespeople. I'm not kidding. Of all the things I teach, and there's lots and lots of things, the most important one is never, ever end a meeting or a phone call without setting up that next meeting or phone call. I call that, Andre, I call that be nasty,
oh yeah.
BNASTY, which stands
Okay.
for the best next action step towards yes. And it means,
Woo!
you like that?
That's a bar. That's a bar.
I actually got that from a client of mine because I used to call it BNAS, best next action step. He goes, "What about BNASTY?" I'm like, "Be nasty. What is that?" He goes, "Toward yes." I'm like, "I'm stealing that. It's mine now."
Love it. Love it.
So the AI assistant, how does it help with the follow up? Because it's automating it.
Yeah, it's pretty much automating it. So you can reach out several times, right? You can reach out via text, voice, email, have it give them a call. You know what I mean? If you didn't set that appointment or whatever the case may be, as well as nurture, you can ask it, to see if they had any questions or, whatever your process is, right? Whatever you would coach them on doing, it can do that outreach for you without you having to be like, oh, I gotta call so and so today to check in. I gotta call, and text this person, that person. Nope, it's all done. You disposition it in the CRM, and the AI does the rest, right?
Got it. I always check out people's LinkedIn feeds, and I saw something on yours. Podcast, which is what we're doing right now. Well, this is a video cast that'll get converted to a podcast in about a week. Podcast can be a great way to develop recognition, build your brand, and to get inbound leads. But many people have no idea how to put a podcast together. Like so many things to me, it's like you get a podcast platform and you start putting out some information. But how can AI be used for podcasts? Because I saw a post of yours that was fascinating.
Yeah. Wow. So as far as AI and podcasts, it can be used lots of different ways. We can, I don't know if you're referring to where we make the AI podcast, but
that's exactly what I'm referring to.
Gotcha.
Telling me about AI actually doing the entire podcast.
Should I drop the secret and tell how it's done?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so you can pretty much summarize anything or make your own content. And there's a tool, Notebook LM. It's actually free from Google. For those that don't know, right? Check it out. And once the data's in a good format, you can just tell it to generate a podcast, and it goes. There are two voices back and forth, a male and a female. You can barge in and interrupt and, edit as well. Have your own voice and have all types of fun scenarios. I've even used that to, I built one recently, and my wife will love this. With our family meal plan, right? So I made an AI that says, okay, we typically go to these grocery stores, right? And my wife needs to be able to chat with it and say, hey, I'm at Sam's Club. What should I get this on the list on the plan? And it'll tell her, what to get, but there's also a podcast that I made for her because she actually has ADHD, right? So, you can be everywhere with ADHD. So this makes it enjoyable. It gives you the carrot that you need, that dopamine hit. Like, oh man, I can listen to a podcast about, me wasting time and money going all over the place for these, and I can save 30% from going over here, and just go to this particular place. I don't want to say brands and get you canceled or anything, but yeah.
So wait a minute. Are you telling me I could go into Notebook LM and say, hey, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with salespeople all over the world to help them increase sales, and I do a podcast about sales, and I'm going to be interviewing Andre Lassiter, who's an expert in AI and lead generation. Please develop a 1-hour podcast of the two of us talking together, and it'll just do that. And will it sound like our voices?
No, not quite. So this one, they have two baked in voices. There are other softwares out there that will sound like, our voices if you train the voices. But with this, it's more of a, you would give it the research, or either go tell it to do the research on me as well as yourself, and then the topic, and then it'll come back and have a back and forth of, between the two hosts saying, hey, welcome to today's episode. We're going to talk about, Jeff's sales expertise and Andre's AI and lead generation expertise, right? And let's do a deep dive. Let's talk about this, and this, and it's pretty entertaining, engaging. You'll probably start to see a lot more of those once people catch on to it, and you'll know exactly what it is. But yeah, we'll have to touch base offline and give it a shot. I'll show you some of the tips and the tricks.
So the old guy in me my mind just went crazy. I'm going, that feels like cheating. I thought that, my brain is going in two different directions right now. One is, I can't believe that it could possibly do what you and I are doing right now. And the other side of me is going, well, AI is pretty amazing. Maybe it can do that. Maybe I don't need to invest an hour a week talking to Andre, although I'm enjoying it. Maybe we do have to have that conversation offline. I mentioned that I post daily. I use LinkedIn to develop business, and social media is a great way to develop your brand and to get leads. You can post valuable content, and it's also very useful to comment on other people's posts. as a way of engaging and getting more followers and people hearing your message. But many sales reps struggle with both the time to do it and with not having any clue, what should I actually say? How can AI be used to help it? I think you actually have a product that does that, but tell me a little bit about how AI can be used to comment on other people's posts.
For sure, for sure. So AI can definitely be used to comment on other people's posts. You can make workflows that, go out and do the research and find the top voices and generate comments. You have to be careful on platforms like LinkedIn because they don't necessarily like or enjoy you connecting via API to do all that good stuff. But it is possible. And furthermore, on your own content, it's keyword marketing, right? Keyword strategy. So I know you've seen the comment, Jeff to get my guide, or comment Jeff to get something, right?
Sure.
We love to make those. We're able to make those, but typically it's just, you served up a link, right? But what ours does is a little bit different. So let's say you did it on Facebook, right? And you sent a DM, or if you just commented on a post or an ad, yes, it will like your post. What it'll also do is create a comment underneath your post and saying, hey, check your DMs or whatever you wanted to say. And then it starts to have a conversation with you, right? We can qualify you. We can ask whatever questions you like, whatever your process is, and just have a conversation and get you booked on the calendar, right? So you can get sales calls right through the DM versus just serving up. Because I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but typically, you get that piece of information, they send you to a landing page, they collect your information. Why not just have the conversation up front, schedule the appointment, and be done with it? Then you can send them that information, right? After the appointment schedule, you can add value add from there. You don't necessarily have to wait for them hoping that they click the landing page and give you their information.
Wow. And I don't know if what you described is what I'm about to ask you, if it's the same thing, but I was on your website looking at your different services. Is that conversational voice AI, or is that something different?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So conversational voice AI is more of what we spoke about with the AI assistants doing the voice calls. But this is we like to call it Marcus. This is a texting AI agent. So think the same thing, but through WhatsApp, through text message, through Facebook DMs, through Instagram DMs, even LinkedIn's possible, but you have to jump through a few more hoops.
Well, that's actually awesome, because my training and my coaching is always about when you're doing outreach in any type, you want to do outreach in a bunch of different ways, because there's no one way that's working better than anything else right now. I still believe in cold calling, but cold calling alone isn't doing it. Email marketing is great, but email marketing alone, I mean, and there's DMs and you said WhatsApp, and there's a million things. So it sounds like AI can help me be not only more effective, but more efficient, because I don't have the time to do all those every day, and I'm pretty good with scheduling. I'm very big on what I call calendarization, making sure everything's on my calendar so I can get more stuff done. But it sounds like AI could really help me to be in more places at one time, which is what I want to do. It depends on which study you read, but they all say the same thing, that today it takes 12 to 18 touches just to get somebody to respond. Well, that takes a lot of time. If I've got to reach out to somebody 12 to 18 times, and I can't just reach out to one somebody, I got to reach out to a lot of somebody. So AI can be used to do all or at least part of that outreach.
100%. Yeah, definitely part of it, right? Like, it's duplication of effort, duplication of yourself, right? You're cloning yourself, essentially, in making a sales team, an outreach team for yourself. You're driving certain channels you can't by law reach out, from cold lists, but there are ways, right? So like you said, email marketing, if you email, it attracts them in. The offer is what typically sells, right? Or you're building your brand on social media, so they've heard of you, right? When they go back, because just like you did your research, they're going to research you. They're going to see, who are you, right? Where can I find this guy? Is he legit? Is he real? Oh yeah, he is real. Okay, let me look at his content. Oh, great. Well, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, let me book a call. And then when your agent, because they forgot after they looked at your LinkedIn or your Instagram or your Facebook, your agent reaches out and it closes the deal for you, the sale, right? So you get the appointment and all is well.
Awesome. Love that. There was another thing I saw in your LinkedIn feed, and I think it was from actually about a year ago. So I don't know if you remember, but how is AI being used in politics?
Oh boy. So things have changed a little bit since then, but it's being used to gather data. One, it was being used to do outreach. That was the Wild Wild West when we were able to do that campaign for the guys up in upstate New York. But yeah. So you can do outreach. The laws in politics are a little bit different than the general public, right? They're not necessarily tied like we are. They can reach out to constituents, right? Um, so imagine getting a call from your senator's team asking if you had any questions about the campaign, or they've done their research now with AI, so they know your gender, your demographic, where you are, so they can come to you with something that's valuable, right? And then remind you to vote, and then they send a text message, hey, just wanted to make sure you are registered, blah blah blah, XYZ, send you a message, right? And then have a curated email response and follow up, something that's not invasive, and it's not overbearing, but it can do that outreach at scale, whereas you had to have call centers, basically, and call banks of several volunteers in the past, right, to try to make those calls. And you're like, oh gosh, no, I'm not going to donate to this campaign, or no, I don't want to hear about XYZ. It's a more immersive experience. They can use the data to figure out what's driving and moving the needle, consistently analyze it, and then update on the fly, versus having that static script of people that are calling saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and on the negative side, a politician can use AI against their opponent by creating a video or an audio that sounds and looks exactly, well, maybe not exactly, but pretty damn close. Yeah. It seems that in terms of pictures and video, that AI again is making leaps and bounds daily. I'm on TikTok, and I'll sometimes go, that's AI, that's obviously AI. But sometimes it's like, is that AI or not? It's truly amazing. And video, it's just astounding what you can do with AI to create video, to make yourself look better, to make yourself look like you're in a different place, or to make somebody else look like they're saying something that they really didn't, which I think they call them deep fakes.
Deep fakes, yes. Sora too. It's amazing.
It's amazing and terrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
I get about 1/3 of my business through LinkedIn and social media, and another third comes from networking. I'm a big fan of using networking for business development. I think it's one of the best ways, because there's nothing better than a well-made introduction, a well-made referral. When somebody introduces you to somebody else and says, you should take a meeting with Andre, he's going to be able to help you with XYZ. That prospect is already halfway sold before you even get to meet them, because I'm using my social capital to get you in there. I found that in networking, that it's not just about going to the meeting every week or 2 weeks or however often they are, although that's important. It's really about, if I meet you at a networking function, it's like, let's get together and get to know each other, Andre, because I'm not going to refer you to anybody until I get to know you, because who am I going to refer you to? I'm going to refer you to my clients, my prospects, my associates, and I'm not going to take a chance on you making me look bad by making an introduction. So I got to get to know you. It's not just about going to the meeting. What is networking automation? Because I was fascinated by that.
Yeah. So it's more follow-up, right? So, the V cards and all those sorts of things. So I actually have one. It's andre.ms3it.com. When I go to that, I'm at a networking meeting. They scan so I spoke at the All Things Open conference downtown Raleigh at the convention center this week. And, several people, you're meeting everyone. What it is I give them that QR code, they scan it, and it doesn't necessarily lock them into LinkedIn. So they can text me, they can call me, they can connect on LinkedIn, Facebook, email, however you want to do it. But all roads, once I get that contact information, if they text me, it's a pre-populated text. It sends them a text message, and my AI engages, it grabs their name, it updates that into my CRM. Of course, it's got the phone number, and then it schedules them, right? Schedules them for a call from me. I don't even worry about qualification, but it can qualify. If I was just randomly meeting whoever, I can ask it to qualify the prospects, right? But I'll take a call. You never know where conversations can lead. So I'm all for taking the call and just connecting with people genuinely. But yeah, just giving people more options of reaching you, and then it'll do the follow up for you because everyone says, like you said, yeah, that'd be awesome. We can touch base sometime. And crickets, right? You get busy, they get busy, everyone forgets. A year later, nothing happens. And now, the AI is reaching out and making sure that appointment gets booked, because if you didn't book with me through text message, guess what? My assistant's going to call you. It's going to say, hey, you guys met last week. Love to get some time on the calendar for you guys to sync up, maybe a quick 15-minute call. Or is, a lunch better? Are you in the Raleigh area? If you're in the Raleigh area, maybe we can set up a lunchtime, but it knows which calendar based on the response to book on. And then it just gets it booked, sends the reminders, and we're good to go.
Amazing. I was just thinking something as simple as, hey, it was great meeting you yesterday. I hope we can help each other. Please reach out if there's anything I can do. But that's very cool. What is AI workflow optimization? And how can salespeople use that? Why do they need it, and how can they use it?
Yeah. So
it's just you hear all the time, by the way, workflow optimization. I guess I understand what it is, but maybe for those of us who may be a little dense, why don't you explain that?
No, it's just connecting all the tools, so that they can talk together. All right. So typically I find, for a lot of our clients, things are disjointed. Things are in 10 systems and they're trying to cobble things together. All right. So you want to optimize it and make sure that, the leads move within the systems, within the system, preferably, or systems automatically, as little manual entry as possible. Right. So, you don't want to have to go in and click and see, where they are here. The way we typically design our CRM for, decent sized clients is, things aren't, it doesn't feel like a CRM. All right. So after a sales call, you'll get a text message that says, hey, how did the call go? Disposition it with a click of a button, right? It's, follow up needed, unqualified prospect, whatever the case may be. And then it moves it to the next bucket where automations take over. And they, if a follow up's needed, it's going to reach out automatically and get that booked on your calendar, right? And if that wasn't successful after a certain amount of time, then it's going to reach out again, to however many you set, right? And then, so it's just a seamless, easy to use. You want to make sure that it, like I said, defining a word with the word optimized, so that your flow is efficient and that you're making money without having to spend time on the dumb, repetitive things that you don't want to do.
It's truly astounding. I don't know if you know this guy. He's a friend of mine. His name is Joe Apfelbaum. He's a LinkedIn trainer and also an AI expert. And he's developed the product that posts for you and stuff like that. And yesterday on LinkedIn, he posted, what would help you if you could automate it? Ask me anything. And I put in something. I'm going, there's no way he can possibly come back and say that can be automated. So I said, well, Joe, I do a live broadcast every Friday, and then it has to get converted to a podcast, and then it has to be posted on various things, and I have to notify people. I'd love to be able to automate that. And I thought he was going to say, no, you can't do that. He immediately wrote back, oh, we can absolutely do that. I'm going to give you a call. I'm like, oh my God. I normally will wait a few weeks and then I'll get 3 or 4 of them and do them all at the same time. I did it this week. It probably took me, I don't want to over exaggerate, probably took me at least an hour just to get the video that we're doing right now, to take the audio out of it, convert that to a podcast, put it on the right platforms. And because I'm on like 5 or 6 different platforms, and then create posts. Actually, including the post, it probably took me an hour and a half. And if that could all be automated, there's an hour and a half that I could be prospecting or selling or delivering. It's just astounding. What do you say to the salesperson who's worried that AI is going to replace them?
Get better at your craft.
Get better at selling or get better at AI?
Both actually, but better at selling. Get better at selling. That human connection is not going anywhere anytime soon. Especially when you're talking, services or things that aren't necessarily a dime a dozen and commoditized. Human connection is everything. People buy people. So get better at your craft, get better at AI, obviously, to help you multiply, but getting your message out there, connecting with people, resonating, building your community. Community is a huge thing as well, right? So we build communities, through our CRM, or there are other platforms as well, where you can provide value,
Like
provide a bit.
school.com and things like
Oh yeah,
that. Yep.
yes, indeed. And yeah. Just once you get everyone in, you've got a core audience, right? So you're constantly providing that value. They're always checking for you. They've got one spot. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? If you're at a corporate job, maybe not the case. But if you're building your personal brand for certain things, then you can still attract those people and those same clients, send them to your community. But you can farm that through your work.
Yeah. I get this question all the time. Jeff, should I be worried about my job in sales? And my answer is, and I'm not the expert that you are, but my answer is not anytime soon. Yeah, yes, maybe eventually, but not soon. But I do say that the sales rep that embraces AI and uses it is going to do better than the sales rep that doesn't, because you're going to get left behind very quickly.
Yes.
All right. We're almost out of time. If you could just give one piece of advice to everyone listening about embracing AI, what would it be?
I'd say, let's see, let me think about this one. um, I'd say don't wait until you understand it. Start using it now. People learn by doing, and action and motion. That's what's going to get you there. So take action. Start now. Figure it out. Bump your head a few times, and just get it done.
So don't be afraid. Give it a try.
Yes, indeed.
Gotcha. Before we go, Andre, I don't have a slide or anything for you, but how can people reach you if they're interested in finding out more about working with you in your company or need some advice? How can they reach you?
Sure thing. You can reach me directly by going to Andre, ANDRE, ms3it.com, which is a mouthful. You can visit us at ms3it.com and chat with us there. Or we're developing, and it'll probably be ready by the time this airs. Actually, we're live. So tryitwithai.com to see our cool demos and our voice AI and all that fun stuff as well.
And do you want to give out a phone number for your company?
Yeah. 919-891-6727.
And of course, you can be found on LinkedIn.
Oh, yes, indeed. Find me on LinkedIn under Andre Lassiter. You see the face if you're watching visually, and it matches up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your brilliance with us so generously today. And I'll leave, as I always do, I'll end it the same way. Guys, please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks again, Andre.
Thank you, Jeff.